Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Sword Art Online video. This one is going to be my first arc overview video. So I'm going to be doing one of these videos at the end of every one of the arcs of Sword Art Online. Then I'm going to review basically episode by episode. So yesterday I finished up the Aincrad arc with episode 14, The End of the World. What better place to kind of go back and review it overall than with this video. And yeah, so these type of videos are going to give me a chance to just talk about the overall 14 episodes more so than I was throughout the previous 14 videos, because in those I wanted to focus just on the episode that we're reviewing that day. These gives me a chance to talk a little bit more about, I suppose, fan reaction and stuff like that. So in general, I love the Aincrad arc. And I think most Sword Art Online fans love it too. It is just basically considered, it is the best arc of Sword Art Online. It is the most interesting game world that we get, and a lot of people, including myself, but I would say for myself, only when I watched it the first time, when I got to the 14th episode and realized that, wait, they're ending this here, I was a little bit taken aback that this is so amazing. Don't end this now. You could go for hundreds of episodes focusing on every single little bit of this world. And to some extent, I still feel that way a little bit, but I definitely don't feel as strongly about it as a lot of people do. Because I think it's just one of those things where it's a combination of, one, learning about how the source material for this show works, and just the way that the anime adaptation actually worked out. Just like, okay, so the actual source material wasn't like floor 1 to 100 and then for the anime they kind of just chopped it down to what it was. No, like, this tells basically the whole start and ending of the story. And this was the only thing that was out for a long while of Sword Art Online. Then he filled in the gaps with volume 2, which fits right in the middle of the start and ending of this book. And then some of the other episodes, like episode 2, comes from this book, which is Sword Art Online Progressive Volume 1, which is him, Reiki Kawahara, the source material author, basically making the decision that, okay, you know, the way I wrote these back for this like light novel competition, which had a page limit count, I'm going to actually go back now with a lot more writing experience and tell the detailed story of basically every floor of Aincrad. Because I know you as fans love Aincrad and want to see more of it, so I'm going to go back and tell you that. And that's what Sword Art Online Progressive is. I loved this book when I read this. I thought it was brilliant and really made me want to buy the other books, even though they were, you know, as I said throughout the reviews, they're fairly accurate to the anime. Like, you don't gain that much extra, I think, by reading the books. But this being some new content that hasn't yet been done in the anime, really interesting. Like, I think Progressive Volume 2 is out in English, like, today. I have it pre-ordered on Amazon, so I hope to be getting that book in the next week or two. I'm really excited to read it because I think it focuses basically on the main story of Floor 3. But coming back to the point I'm trying to make here, watching this like the second, third, fourth time that I've seen the Aincrad arc, I come to realize just that I still want more and more stories from Aincrad. I do want to basically know about every floor. I want to know about every boss battle. But I don't think it's fair to use that as a criticism of these 14 episodes. Because these 14 episodes tell the important Sword Art Online story. These get across the theme and ideas that the author was going for. If you try to fit too much in the span of this story, it kind of falls apart a little bit. Because I think part of why this works so well is that you are skipping around to the really important bits. That every episode has a key reason for being part of this season. In that the first episode gets the plot across. The last 2 episodes end the story, effectively. The second episode gives you an idea what a boss fight is like, presents the idea of the rivalry between players in the game, between the beta testers and the new players. The third episode gives you the kind of tragic moment in Kirito's throughout his playing of the game, and that defines his interactions with people going forward. Episode 4 is the interaction with Silica, which on the outside seems like a, maybe it's a little bit of a fillery episode, but you get the first mentions of his sister here, which is setting up the ALO stuff. And immediately coming after episode 3, the fact that he's willing to kind of help this girl, it's a kind of big step forward for him, that he still wants to help people, even though he still feels this kind of need to be solo, that no one else can help him. Then you kind of get Asuna introduced back into the story after being away for a while, and they solve this mystery together and become friends, and they start to meet up a little bit more. Then you get the Lisbeth episode, which gives you the first real hint as to them becoming romantically interconnected. Plus, that episode gives you the idea about Kirito's second sword, like the mystery around that. What are they doing there? And throughout all of these episodes, you're getting across that this arc fundamentally, is it about clearing the game? Yes, kind of, but it's not the main focus. It's always there that they want to finish the game to get out of here, and that is the overall plot. But what the story focuses on for the most part is the interaction between Kirito and the other players. That is the overall, I suppose, main arc, main story of Sword Art Online. As you follow each episode through, it's always focused on his interactions with players. With Klein in episode 1, with basically all of the other players, him becoming a beater in that episode. His guild, Silica, Asuna, Lisbeth, and then you kind of get back into Asuna, then Yui, and it's all just about this virtual world, and the connections that he's making to people are real. And in that sense, I think these 14 episodes tell the story really effectively. And I want all the content from Aincrad I can get, but I'm actually okay with that being kind of side material now, that it's coming out now after the fact. It's not meant to be kind of all slotted in together and watched chronologically. That these 14 episodes tell the important stuff, and those others, like novel stories and stuff like that, tell good stuff, but if you had fitted them in here, it would have taken away from what these episodes were trying to accomplish. I think that's the best way to actually say what I want to say here. That, this show, I don't think would have worked if it had done it Naruto style, where it had like 200 or 300 episodes to tell the story of all 100 floors. I think it would have got a little bit repetitive over time, seeing them, oh, here's the next boss, here's what happened, because they established that most of the floors, no one really did die. It was only when there was a big ramp up in difficulty or something dramatic happened. For the most part, we got to see the important stuff in these episodes, so that's that addressed. One thing, I suppose, the next point I want to make, what I really like about the show overall, throughout all of the seasons, but that I think Aincrad gets across very well, is that the show never feels like it has to be one specific type of show. It never feels that it has to constantly fit itself into the genre that it's actually in. Like, is this an action anime? Kind of. Is it an adventure anime? Kind of. Is it romance? Yeah. Is it this, that, and the other? It's a little bit of everything. It's got like murder mystery at times, just kind of character mystery. At times it's just kind of slice of life, romance. And I like that it does that. That there are times when there's barely any action in an episode, and they just focus on the character stuff, and it's great. There are times when the episodes are more action-packed, and it is good. Like episode 2 is basically just the boss fight, and that works really well. I just really like that there are some times where you watch an anime and you're just kind of like, I get what you're doing, but you're sticking way too hard to the fact that you are this type of anime, and I maybe wish you would inject a little bit of romance, but you seem unwilling to do that. So I give Sword Art Online a lot of credit for that. Another thing I give it credit for is the romance. Again, a lot of other animes, they hint at romances heavily, like super heavily, that this character really likes this character, and then the other character comes to really like this one, and they get together, and the series ends. And the only thing you get on their relationship is just that they got together. You're not going to see any of them interacting together, finally as a couple, which is what you wanted to see, but at least they're together, which is nice and all, it's cool, wrap it up, epilogue stuff, but so many shows just never give you the couple as a couple. Like, even to some extent, Avatar: The Last Airbender, like my favorite show of all time, it did that with Aang and Katara. Now, that was a little bit different in that, like, effectively they were together before they were actually together, but they only really got together at the end. But that's why I like the Avatar comics so much, because just getting to see them interact as a couple, boyfriend and girlfriend, is so nice to see. So when I came to watch Sword Art Online for the first time, in many ways what made me fall in love with the series was kind of seeing Kirito and Asuna fall in love with each other, get together as a couple, get married in the game. They even went as far as to basically give them a child for an episode or two, and their relationship was just real. Even though it technically happens fairly quickly, I didn't feel like it was rushed. I didn't feel like it was forced. I really got that these two just came from just not knowing each other to being like acquaintances, to being friends, to beginning to like each other, to becoming boyfriend girlfriend, becoming married in the game, to actively wanting to find each other in the real world, to the point where that is their big success in this game. The last 2 years of their life, the most important thing has been finding each other. And I just have so much credit for this show for actually doing that. That it's something, again, a lot of shows tend not to do for some reason. Just have a couple get together and don't just mess around with the romances, doing all this kind of triangle stuff and that sort of thing. That just two characters get together and they have a nice relationship and it's meaningful. Like, it was a breath of fresh air and just worked, because the big contrast here was obviously that they found each other, but they're in a world where their relationship is constantly at risk because they can be killed at any point. And especially the way it links into the way they both help each other as characters, and that Kirito's whole thing has been that he's always been able to protect other people, but there's no one to protect him really. But Asuna is that person, which leads to the fact that at the end, the big moment is that she kind of dies saving him, but obviously they end up finishing the game together. And then with Kirito helping Asuna, it was that she would just drive herself into the ground trying to finish the game early on, to the point where they would actually argue early on in the game with each other about this sort of thing. And that she couldn't understand why he was so laid back about things and why he wasn't always doing everything he could to finish the game. And he just taught her to just kind of calm down, that you can enjoy life here. That the real world, the virtual world here, may not be the real world, but it is a real world. And you can enjoy the beauty of things, the day, enjoy the relationships. And just, it helped her to just, I suppose, just enjoy life again. And that's a really big thing between the two of them. And so that's what their relationship did over the course of the kind of 14 episodes. And again, some people criticize it for being quickly done, but I like how it was done. Again, they're in this kind of really dramatic situation where they could die at any moment. Yes, like almost all of the relationships are kind of like just everything's so heightened. So of course all the emotions are higher. Maybe that leads to everyone getting together in relationships quicker. But it feels real. It felt real the way it happened, and it wasn't just a like snap your fingers and they're together moment. It got some build, in that, they were arguing earlier on in the season. The first episode where they meet, there was nothing inherently romantic about their interactions. Even in the two murder mystery episodes, like, you could tell, okay, they're friends, they're joking around a bit. Then there's the kind of friendship thing. There's a hint that maybe they're doing something more. But then it's really the Lisbeth episode where Asuna has the earrings on, and Liz is kind of teasing her about going to meet someone, that you can see that, oh, on Asuna's side of things, she does actually really like him. And then how throughout the whole Knights of the Blood Oath, kind of Kirito joining that guild, that whole thing, he comes to really like her, and that's how it comes together. So really like the way the romance is done, and the fact that the show wasn't afraid when it did introduce the romance to just give it some time. That it made sense within the story at that moment, that they had just gotten together as a couple, that they did take a break away from the front lines, that they weren't just going to get married and immediately go into the next boss or anything like that and potentially get killed. That they wanted the break to be safe, and it worked. So yeah, and I suppose they are the main 3 points I wanted to make in this video. They're the main reasons I like this. I think it's a really good adaptation from the kind of crazy way that the source materials come together. It's little bits from Volume 1, Volume 2, Progressive Volume 1, Volume 7, Volume 8, and somehow it all manages to come together in chronological order to tell this just really nice story across 14 episodes. A lot of time skips between episodes, but you get the idea what each episode is going to, is kind of, you get what each episode is adding to the series. And that was a real big success, I think, across the entire series. Getting to meet all these characters. I suppose the premise of the show, that you die in the real world, in the virtual world, you die in real life, got the drama across in a way that some of the shows just struggle to do. And again, I love the animation of this show. I love the music, love the opening ending themes. Love the way they kind of do the dialogue. The voice acting in the dub is really well done, and the dub itself is very good. The sub is fine for what it is. I don't really tend to prefer subs over dubs for the most part, really. So the dub is it's there if you can't wait for the dubs, but I just have a huge fondness for this arc. I honestly believe it is the best arc of the show. Again, I would like to at some point see a lot of the other Aincrad stories, like the rest of this book, say, animated at some point. But I'm fine with that coming after the fact. I don't feel like it had to be fit in somewhere in the middle of these episodes. These told the story that they needed to tell, in my mind. So that's the main gist of the overview video I wanted to do here. What I will say is just that I'm starting my ALO, Alfheim Online, reviews tomorrow with the next episode. I definitely will have a lot more, I think, of just proper discussion stuff about that arc than I do about Aincrad, because primarily I just really like the Aincrad arc. I've praised basically everything about it over the course of the past 15 videos. I like the ALO arc a lot as well, but definitely because I think in general the fans criticize it a bit more, I have a lot more discussion to say on that because I disagree with a lot of it. So maybe the videos coming up will be a lot more interesting than me just talking about how much I love Aincrad. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.